first team that we're going to get into today is the Chicago Bears. Infamously, last season, I was a lot higher on them than you, obviously, because I thought that this could be like a dark horse, like Super Bowl team, just based on like their defense. I thought their defense was really good, and I thought at the time that the moves that they made on offense were positive. But it just turns out that Eberflus was a joke. Terrible at time management. We have videos all throughout the season talk about Eberflus. We don't have to spend too much time on that. But what I do want to open up by saying is, I don't trust Ryan Poles in any way, shape, or form. And I think that last season is the reasoning for me to feel that way, because all the moves that he made were advertised at the time of like, oh, he's upgrading the offensive line. He's upgrading the skill group. He's upgrading this, he's upgrading that. And then it fell flat. So even the moves that have been made so far this offseason, like I'm looking at it right now, traded for Joe Thuney, traded for Jonah Jackson, signed Drew Dalman. I don't trust Ryan Poles in any way, shape, or form. And this like Madden style of team building where he's just throwing money at everybody, like Deo Adubagwe or something. Can't say it. Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett. He's probably like 33. Devin Duvernay, Omalad Zacchaeus, Travis Homer, and then the line guys that I said. I'm just absolutely skeptical on how Poles assesses talent in the trenches, because I feel like as of right now, he's been proven to not trust him on this, and him just time and time again, just like throwing money at people and seeing if it works out. I'm skeptical on this season for the Bears, this offseason that they're having for the Bears. I know that it could be viewed as high level and really good. I completely believe in Caleb Williams personally, but I am skeptical on how Ryan Poles approaches this roster and team building, because he's already proven to me once. And honestly, before that too, with the Justin Fields situation, that he isn't capable of building a good roster to compete. So I think love the Ben Johnson hire, love Caleb Williams, extremely skeptical on the team that's been put together by Ryan Poles.
I think it's fair to criticize like the offensive and defensive moves as of recent. They did go out and get Montez Sweat, obviously not this season, but like that's a good move that they made. He went out and they traded for DJ Moore. That was a good move that they made. Like I think there has been some good moves, but it seems like they've all come along.
Is it
like DJ Moore? Exterior?
DJ Moore like hates being there.
Yeah, but
who had worse
last year was bad.
Who had worse body language last year than DJ Moore?
DK Metcalf.
But like realistically, like he was clearly a nightmare on that team last year.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Yeah. But I still think having a guy like that in your locker room with a rookie quarterback now, I think, well, no longer a rookie quarterback, but like I think things are going to be better. I think it's completely fair to be skeptical of these offensive linemen and these defensive linemen that they've brought in.
Yeah.
Based off of last season, right? Like until you show that you can do this at a high level, then I think it's fair to criticize that. So yeah, I sit there with you alongside the offensive line moves that they made, but I think getting in Ben Johnson, I think just by default, and another year of Caleb Williams being in the NFL, I think they're going to be at least 2 to 3 games better. I'm not going to sit here and think that they're going to be like, I won't sit here and say they're going to be a playoff team, but I do think they will be better than last season.
I don't know. I am not sure. I'm looking right now for their depth chart that's listed right now. They don't have a right tackle or a right guard listed on their depth chart currently. They don't have their wide receivers listed. I think that their running back room is extremely weak. I think DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson it's a weak backfield. I think as of right now, it might hurt to hear. I think that there's a good chance that Roma Dunze might be a bust. I don't think he was worth taking in the top 10 of last year's draft to pair with Caleb Williams. So I get it. I understand some of the moves that they're making, but I don't know if this offense is any better than it was last year. I think it's probably worse. And I think that they probably are going to attack skill position in this draft. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like they need to do something because DJ Moore's there. I like DJ Moore's a decent player. I don't think anybody would say that he's an elite number one wide receiver. I think that that's a fair assessment of who DJ Moore is as a player. I think he's a nice player. I don't think he's that dominant number one that everybody thought he could be once he got to Chicago. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I probably have DJ Moore around like the 15 to 20 range for like number one receivers in the NFL, probably.
Yeah, like I said, he's closer to 20 than he is 10.
But part of me also thinks like not to like necessarily compare the Lions front office to the Bears front office, but like the Lions front office I think has done a phenomenal job. And I think there's part of it where like if you're Ben Johnson, I think that he would be sitting in on some of those conversations, right? About this is what I want this offense to look like. Is that how it works? Like, is there going to be a guy like that sitting in there and being like, hey, these are the types of guys that I like. This is how I want to run this offense. Like, and if he's not doing it in Detroit, then like he's obviously doing it now as a head coach. Like, I would imagine that he had some say in who these guys are, who they're bringing in. None at all.
That's just not how it works.
They're not. He has zero say in who is not how they build this roster.
I mean, he might have input, but like it's the front office's job to put the team out on the field.
Well, that feels wrong to me then in the first place.
That's how it's done at literally 90% of the organizations. The guys who have roster input, who are head coaches, are Sean Payton, Kyle Shanahan, and Mike Vrabel when he was in Tennessee. I'm assuming that he's going to have it with the Patriots, and like Bill Belichick. Like that's it's not their job. Their job is to coach the football team. The front office is in charge of personnel. The coaching staff is in charge in coaching up the personnel.
I mean, I get that. It is crazy to me though that these guys like wouldn't have some say in the type of team that they want to put together. Especially like as I understand it's not head coach job to have final say, but like I would imagine they're in there doing like there's some part of okay, these are the guys that I've liked.
I'm sure.
I think McVay's probably in there too.
I am not, absolutely not.
There was plenty of videos about McVay in the draft room of like, oh yeah, let me get Puka.
Of him sitting. I mean, there's not one video of him talking about let's go get Puka. That was
100%.
That was their GM. That was their GM.
No, McVay was in there, and I'll find the video for you and send it to you.
You will. I've seen the video. I know what you're talking about. I think though that like what's been brought to the attention of Sean McVay was the personnel went to him and said, "Look at Puka Nacua." Sean McVay.
So that's still like him having say in it at the end of the day.
But Sean McVay isn't sitting there watching 4th round, 5th round wide receiver tape.
No,
like,
I get that.
Shit, but like, I found a gem.
No, I get that.
BYU boys.
I get that, but there's still some say that's going into this decision from the head coach.
There is.
I'm not expecting any of these head coaches to sit there and be watching 500-600 players worth of film.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, then yeah. Well, then it is a list and a assortment of players that is curated by a staff, and they will go to like. I'm sure that the coach will have some of his favorites, but like,
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I'm not expecting any head coach in the NFL with all the other responsibilities that they have to do to be sitting there watching 700 college kids.
I think you would be
as the NFL draft is getting ready.
I think you would be very shocked to know that that the head coaches probably don't have as much influence on personnel as like you think.
Fair enough.
Like Jonathan
That's fair.
Gannon, like during this free agency period, I'm sure he was like, I would really like Josh Sweat. That's my guy. And they went and got him. But I think that there's also a point where like Jonathan Gannon could go to the Cardinals organization and be like, hey guys, I really like this edge rusher. And everybody in the front office being like, well, that guy sucks.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah.
I get that. I don't sit here and expect every single player that a coach likes to be, all right, go out there and get that. Like, go out there and get that guy. But
that's fair.
I would imagine that there is some collaboration, there's some cohesion between front office and head coach.
I don't think as much as you think. I don't
think it's that much, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's separation.
Saying like they have like a list of like these are the guys brought to them.
We could obviously find the answer out to this as well. But my perceived like opinion on it is it's a separation of like church and state in a way where it's like, hey, like my job is to put together this roster. Your job is to coach this roster. That's why it's a GM and a head coach. I
totally get that. It's two separate jobs, two separate lists of responsibilities for each of those guys. And it's not like I'm expecting it to be 85-15% like intertwined. I expect more so of it to be like 20%, 80% GM front office, 20-15% head coach.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. I think though that like I don't think Ben Johnston is like walking into the room being like, all right, let's coordinate how I like run things on O here.
No.
Like I think that's, and honestly, just seeing how Ryan Poles does things, like I think that this is very much he's an independent thinker because he seems to be like a little bit of a wild card. Because
maybe he should start listening to somebody else.
I mean, that's how I look at Adam. Like, it seems like if he sees somebody, he builds a team. Like, it's like how I build a team when I'm in like when I'm playing with my boys on Madden, when we're in a fantasy draft and like there's free agents, there's a 80 and above free agent on the list. I'm like, well, I got to throw all this money at him because I need to beef up my D-line. And that's that's what it feels like Poles does like during its off season. It's like, all right, well, I have an extra 3rd round pick. I'm about to just trade it for Joe Tooney. Even though he's 33 years old.
Right. But all right, back to Poles. I think the criticism is fair. Last year's offense was abysmal. The offensive line was horrible, and I don't even know how many of those guys are still on the Bears roster at this current time.
And the skill positions were terrible as well.
But I think it's important that he's like, okay, this offense was bad. I've got to try and figure out a way for it to be better. So him not sitting on his hands and being like, it was just a bad season and Ben Johnson's going to be here and fix everything. I think Ben Johnson can only fix so much. Like if these guys suck, then they suck. And if they don't block, then they don't block. And
do you think that we could possibly be in a situation where Ryan Poles is fighting for his job and misinterpreting where the Bears are at as an organization currently? And he's doing everything possible to save his job by paying this guy, trading for this dude, getting this guy, and hoping that they can get a successful season. When if we take a zoom out and we just look at the team and who they are and the division that they're in, they're probably the furthest off out of all the teams still right now. So do you think like he is mismanaging the situation because he's trying to save his ass on this job rather than actually trying to build a competent roster that is sustainable in the long term? Or do you think that he's putting them behind the 8 ball? Because that's what I think. I think he's putting them behind the 8 ball because he's trying to save his ass.
I mean, we've seen him put together this will be his 4th year as the GM, 3rd year.
I think it might be longer. I can look. Keep talking.
But they haven't put together anything significant. Even if it isn't his 4th year, the Bears haven't put anything significant together as far as a full complete team goes in how long? Like what they haven't made the playoffs since when?
He started in 2022,
Yeah, so this will be his fourth season.
fourth season.
They haven't put together anything in 4 years that's worth talking about
Yeah.
from a complete team perspective. So I think you're probably right. I think there's definitely an aspect of him that's not coaching for his job per se, not coaching, but you get my point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if they don't look much better, like if they aren't an 8 or 9, 10 win team this year, I think that there's a legitimate conversation to be had. I wasn't there rumors flying around this last offseason that he was going to be gone.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they don't, I think if they don't win 10 games and like miss the playoffs because the division's stacked or whatever, I think his ass is gone no matter what. So that's just what I think.
Yeah, they can't afford to ruin Caleb Williams with putting together a bad team around him.
On a positive note, you obviously love the hire of the Ben Johnson. It seems like the Bears, we have a difference of opinion on who the best name on the market was. I probably say the best coach on the market was Mike Vrabel. Other people would probably say that it was Ben Johnson. He was definitely the hottest name and the trendy hire and the offensive guy. So obviously, like, do you want to go ahead and talk about like give the Chicago Bears some positivity because we just kind of shit all over them.
we actually really did. But yeah, I love it. I think based off of what we saw from the Lions on offense, it was amazing at times. There was obviously moments where Jared Goff didn't look like what we saw from Jared Goff a lot of the year, but I think that this was a great hire. I'm assuming he's going to be calling plays. He's going to be running that offense. And I expect Caleb Williams to take a step in the right direction this offseason and heading into next year. I think this was probably the best move from like an offensive perspective was to get a guy like Ben Johnson come in as your head coach. You know that I'm a very big offensive minded head coaching guy. And we saw how good that he made the Lions offense look. And even if you can get half of that from the Bears offense, I think you have to be relatively happy because that Lions offense was pretty stacked.
I think the realistic expectation, and we'll get into the draft, obviously. I think the realistic expectation that Bears fans should have and Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson is almost them moving individually, which sounds bad. But if Ben Johnson can make Caleb Williams, which Caleb Williams had an extremely slept on rookie season and kind of got overshadowed by the fact that Jaden Daniels just balled out, but still had a great rookie season despite all the bumps, despite all the times he's got sacked. He was still successful and still had a great year to build on. Having that year happen and getting Ben Johnson to continue to develop Caleb Williams into being a premier quarterback into this league is what they need to do this upcoming season. And that's a win for them. And we'll obviously talk about that like a little bit more, but I just feel like expectations right now for this Chicago Bears team, when you look at all the moves that they're making, it's almost like an all-in approach. Like, oh, we have a chance to like win the Super Bowl or go to the NFC Championship. And it's like, are you that close? I don't know.
Do you think that these moves are all in? I don't think they are because I'm looking at the guys that they signed and like they didn't go out there and like add another big name wide receiver or like add a big name running back or like add a big name guy on defense. Like these look like guys that they brought in to like just try to improve along the offensive line that was really bad last year.
I mean, 3 years, 43 million for Grady Jarrett.
But when you're not good and you have a ton of cap space, you have to give money out to guys. Like to me, I don't. If you want them to come play for you, yeah. When you're bad, like you have to spend more.
Like you trade for Joe Thuney, like I get it. Like Joe Thuney's been a decent player, like, but like he's older now and he's played a lot of football. Like he wasn't the Chiefs' offensive line wasn't great last season. Maybe like he'll be better than that. He doesn't.
He was also playing out of position
I think like
towards
the
the
amount of
end of the
money
year,
that
right?
you're. Yeah, that's what I just said. He'll be playing a guard
You
and
cut,
not
yeah,
tackle.
okay.
So maybe
You cut out there for a second.
that's the case. Like I don't know. Like you sign Jonah Jackson to a 1 year deal, which is fine. It could be one and done. Like I don't know. I do view these as like all in moves. Like otherwise, why would you be trading for vets who have a ton of experience and and sign these guys along the defensive line who are middle of the pack and older and giving them a
'Cause
ton of money?
you want to put together a more formidable team than a 5-12 roster that you had last year. I don't know. I don't think they're all in
And
personally, but
that's a good point to make, and that's what Ryan Poles did last year. And I thought that they would make it to the playoffs, and they were 5-12 and stuck. So that's why I'm coming back this year and saying I don't trust Ryan Poles.
no,
These moves
that's
suck.
yeah.
And I think that it's going to be a similar outcome to last year because these moves are advertised as good moves to help the team, but I think that they're moves that are not in good faith because he's trying to do his best by saving his ass rather than actually putting together a decent team. He's getting names rather than people who actually can play football. I mean, Jonah Jackson
Yeah, he
got
was
benched
bad.
for
He was
the
bad.
Rams last year. If
Yeah, for
anybody
sure. He
in
was
the
bad.
league gets benched by the Eagles or the Rams, I don't want anything to do with them. Those are the two teams
Totally
that
fair.
like if you get benched by those two teams, you suck.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair criticism. And I'm not sitting here and saying that I think that I don't think they're going all in with these moves. I also don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last year. I think they're going to be a little bit better, but I don't look at these as like, all right, these are the guys that are going to get us to beating the Vikings. These are going to be the guys that get us to beating the Lions. I think there is probably some realization in that front office and in that organization that we play in the best division in football. Like we still have to try and get better here. But to me, these don't look like all in moves. Like
I
an
think,
all in move to me is like when the Eagles went and got Saquon Barkley. That's an all in move.
yeah, but it's just, I mean, you're wrong.
It's different.
And
It's a different move.
I mean this in like
It's a
such
very different move.
I'm not going to talk about this with an Eagles fan. Like it's so different. Like the Eagles are a competent. You're like missing the point of this whole conversation. The Eagles are a competent organization and a competent front office who has rebuilt teams who have won a Super Bowl, went to the dirt, replaced a quarterback, been successful, went to 2 Super Bowls and won one after a rebuild.
Are
You're
you
talking
saying
about
that
a team that has never been successful, who hasn't made the playoffs in 10 years, who last year thought that we thought, and the media thought, and the Bears fans thought that it was their opportunity to really land in, make noise and land in the playoff mix last season. And the moves that they made, like acquiring Keenan Allen, signing Nate Davis, trading for Montez Sweat, those are all in moves to make sure that happens. So yes, I view these as all in moves because you are signing guys with gaudy names and giving them picks and a lot of money to make it happen. So yes, I'm viewing that as all in.
All in to win a Super Bowl or all in for Poles to save his job? Because I think that's two different things.
That's the issue. That's what I've been saying this entire time.
No, you're saying it's an all-in move for him to save his job.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. That is fine.
In which that follows indicates that they are trying to firmly cement themselves in the playoff picture and make a run. That's why they're making all these moves. They're not making all of these moves to win 7 games. They're making all of these moves to solidify themselves in the division and make a playoff run.
I don't look at these as all in moves to win a Super Bowl, maybe more so to make the playoffs, and for Poles to save his job. So I can agree with you there, but I don't think these are all in moves that a team makes like to try and win a Super Bowl.
What about last year?
I thought those were moves to make a bad team better.
Okay.
Those aren't the type of moves that you
How
really
many
make with
times have we
a
talked
brand
about
new rookie quarterback. Like we
how
didn't.
many times have we sat around and talked about like the teams who splash the most in free agency and spend the most cash, like always end up being bad.
But that's not like I don't still view the teams that spend the most money as like all in moves. I look at it more so of like a player who you're bringing in player wise, like
What?
as a talent level of player that you're trying to bring in.
Well,
Like I
there's a
think some of the,
difference between a team who is good at drafting and developing guys like the Chiefs and the Eagles and other teams that don't have to go in every single free agency and spend cash because
right.
they draft guys and develop. The Bears
So
can't draft anybody and develop them. Their entire organization, other than Caleb Williams, pretty much at this point, are transplants. DJ Moore's a transplant. Their whole line's a transplant. Their running back room's a transplant. Like that's how Ryan Poles
has to
views
build a team. Yeah, I get it.
team building, and that's
I get
his
it.
version of going all in. That's not the Eagles. That's not. You're thinking of this from an office of competent human beings.
No, I'm thinking of now. I'm thinking of when the Patriots spent all that money back in free agency. Was that them going all in
Yes,
with Cam Newton as their quarterback?
bro. Yeah, bro. Yes.
That's not an all-in move. That's hey, we don't have enough players on the roster. We have to spend more money and we can't draft. So like we're gonna have to build our team this way. But I can't imagine
does
they're
it work?
sitting there like
Does it work?
that's not the point of does it work or not? The
is.
point of it is like
It is.
we still have to put together a roster. We can't just not add anybody.
You can put together a roster without trading picks for an old expensive lineman. You can build a roster by not having to pay top dollar for defensive linemen.
Right, but I don't see this as going all in. This is just how they're building their roster. I think there's a difference between going all in roster building and just building a roster.
I respectfully disagree.
All right, that's fine. We won't agree on this one, though. But I do think that we do sit align with Poles coaching or managing for his job this season.
Yeah, I just think that like you're viewing this as like a team that makes sense. That's why it's the Chicago Bears because they never make sense.
They don't. I agree with you.
So that's why I was saying that. Do you have anything else that you want to add about the Chicago Bears?
Do we want to talk about who you think they add?
Oh yeah,
they draft 10th.
Dude, honestly, the more and more that it gets closer, and there's a bunch of Ashton Genty teams, like
I know that's what I like. Literally 10 through 14 is all potential Genty teams, almost in my eyes. Not 10 through 14, but like these next couple teams coming up.
Yeah,
I could see him going to a bunch of different places. Like before the draft started, I think he was maybe a little bit or before the like combine and everything, he seemed to be towards like the middle back half of the first round. And as we continue to get closer, I continue to see more and more mock drafts of him like inside the top 10.
I just sit here and think like, what would the Bears do? Like the Bears are a dog shit organization, and Ryan Poles is an idiot. Like they need an edge rusher.
Yeah,
they probably need a defensive tackle, and you need an offensive lineman. And you have Kelvin Banks, you have Derek Harmon, and you have Jalen Walker and Michael Williams sitting there. All guys who are probably going to be great players in the NFL. What do? You take the running back. Because that's what the Chicago Bears do. So I just feel like they might be a Genty team, like on the low.
If he's even available at 10, I had him on my list, but I think they should take Jalen Walker. Is who I think they should take.
Who I think they should take is Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, the offensive tackle.
No argument there.
Just continue. The guys that they signed this offseason, like we touched on, I don't think that they're very good. I think they're past their prime. And I think that they are probably a little overhyped, such as somebody like a Jonah Williams. Go and grab somebody who is going to be a left tackle in this league who you think is going to be good,
Yeah.
whether that be Kelvin Banks or the kid from Mizzou or the kid from LSU, who's ever there and who they like the most. Go ahead
Yeah.
and build the trenches and build a very important part of your team that can't be replaced by old journeyman linemen that continue to not work out other places. So that's what I have to say there.
Yeah, I don't have any disagreement of them adding an offensive lineman here either.